Hey, thanks for checking out The Solid Verbal. Now would be a great time to subscribe to the channel for college football content all off season long. Is there anything new at Notre Dame?
I think as long as they have access to the playoff, which a lot of people thought, oh, they're not getting a first round bye, they're going to leave. I thought exactly the opposite. No, this is perfect for them. They don't have to play a 13th game. They have 12 games. If they finish in the top 12, they'll be in the playoff. They'll get probably 9 times out of 10 if they're in that situation, they'll be hosting a first round game. And so then if you win that game, then you're into the final 8. So your 13th game is not a conference championship. It's a playoff game that puts you in the quarterfinals. As long as they have the best of both worlds, which they do now with the ACC, with bowl tie-ins, homes for their non-football sports, I think they're fine. Obviously, a big thing that could happen, and I referenced Florida State earlier, is I think, again, this is not an if but a when. Whenever somebody in the ACC figures out a way to either climb over the wall or dig under that wall and get out of the grant of rights before the next 12 years get here, that's going to be the next biggest merry-go-round with conference expansion, because then you're going to see the SEC and the Big Ten go after the likes of Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, Miami. You know who the suspects are there.
Right.
And then what happens, you asked me about, then what happens to Notre Dame? Does Notre Dame want to stay with an ACC that if, for instance, they lost anywhere from 4 to 6 teams, whatever the number is, maybe then at that point Notre Dame's like, yeah, you know what? I think we're better off joining a conference. And at that point I could see it. But Dan, until that happens, I don't think Notre Dame's going to do anything. They have no reason to. The money is not the same as the conferences, but it's very similar. But they get to call their own shots. They get to schedule their games however they want. They don't have to listen to anybody. And they do take a great deal of pride in being an independent. And people that have no affiliation to Notre Dame can't understand that and feel like, oh, they need to get in a conference. But if you know anything about Notre Dame, that's a big deal of pride for them. And so I think they'll hold on to that as long as financially it makes sense and as long as they have a path to the playoff. That's why you'll never see the SEC vote for only conference champions or only conference teams getting into the playoff, because that would force Notre Dame to a conference, in theory, to the Big Ten. And the last thing the SEC wants to do is help out the Big Ten in any way.